Rest in peace, Jalen Waddle. Rest in peace, Tyreek Hill. Rest in peace, Devon Achane. We have a real pass catcher, a real rapper coming over to Miami. Yes, it is true. Darren Waller is here, and Darren Waller is going to be taking probably anywhere from 10 to 12 targets a game. Now, obviously, I'm joking. Darren Waller spent the past few years rapping. Maybe at the end of this live stream, if we hit 1,000 likes, I will do the Darren Waller rap for y'all. But we do kind of have to figure out where these guys going. Is Darren Waller draftable? How early are sickos willing to take him? Does he go before or after Pat Frymuth with Jonnu in Pittsburgh? So let's go ahead. Let's get in the Pitbull draft. There's another spot open and here if anybody wants to draft with us. And thank you everyone for coming out to this live stream. We are going to be in at pick 4. Pick 4 is maybe a little more interesting now that you're seeing like Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey fall in some of these drafts. And I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be a good one. But yes, like I said, 1,000 likes, I will sing Darren Waller's song, which we can sing it together. Hopefully it don't get copyrighted. I was not on Clash of Clans, my friend. I was on Clash Royale. I'm sorry if I was late to this live stream. The clan needed me. Okay, what do you want? What do you want? And I will say, when we set up our clan 2 days ago, I got absolutely wrecked playing against y'all. I went 0-3. Last night I got off the live stream. I told y'all to hop in that clan chat. 3-0. Ooh, I was smoking kids in there. It was beautiful. But Philip says, I'm not going to lie. I'm not interested at all in Darren Waller. Let's figure out where Darren Waller is going to end up going. I'll ask you a Darren Waller question whenever we get past our pick here at 4. CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, both off. Let's see what Curled 99 does. Does he take Jefferson, Barkley, Bijan? I think those are really the only 3 players in contention. You don't really see Jahmyr Gibbs going ahead of these names too often. But maybe we see a surprise. Maybe he ends up doing so. And what does this team do? They go Jefferson. We will take Saquon Barkley. I'm going to be going back and forth between Barkley and Bijan Robinson here at 4. I think in full PPR formats, I'm probably going to opt to go with Bijan. Half PPR leagues, I think you can maybe make an argument for Barkley. In reality, they are going to be very, very close. Now, let's try to figure out where y'all want Darren Waller. Now, please let me know in the live chat right now. Who would you rather have on your team this year? Would you rather draft Darren Waller or would you rather take Mike Gesicki? Darren Waller is a Miami Dolphin or Mike Gesicki? Who are you going with? Please let me know in the chat. And I like now there are interesting little tags next to y'all's name. We got Waller, Gesicki, 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 Waller, Gesicki. Gesicki, tough. Gesicki. So it looks like most people are on Mike Gesicki there. What if we scroll down a bit more? What if we go to the round 18 guys? Would you rather have Dalton Schultz or would you rather have Darren Waller? Dalton Schultz or Darren Waller? Let's see what people got. We have Waller, Schultz, Waller, Schultz. So it looks like this is maybe the range we should expect him to go in. Seems like we have a lot of people on Schultz, a decent amount of people on Waddle. I'm sorry, not Waddle, Waller. So maybe Darren Waller is now mixed in round 18. The very important note that oh my gosh, Tyreek Hill at 17. Y'all know Tyreek Hill was previously my favorite 3rd round wide receiver. We had talked about it a lot. We had drafted a lot of Tyreek Hill. But I will tell you one thing. If you now have to take him ahead of A.J. Brown, I'm done. I'm tapping out. I will be underweight Tyreek Hill. A.J. Brown goes. Let's see what this team right ahead of us does. Okay. This team took Bijan. Where do they go? They go Rice, so we are going to get Brock Bowers. like I said, I think looking at picks 3, 4, and 5 are now more interesting, seeing that you get Ladd McConkey and Bowers falling into the late second now. So I'll be very happy to take Brock Bowers here. And Darren Waller should be in the player pool. What's going to be very interesting in these underdog tournaments, right? Like look at the Pit Bowl, the tournament that we're in right now. 28,000 teams are going to get drafted here. It's the $20 buy-in, $100,000 for first, $500K total prize pool. There have already been 17,000 teams. Before today, I would venture a guess that 0 teams have drafted Darren Waller. So Darren Waller, will probably be drafted in like 10,000 drafts. Or I'm sorry, like in the next 10,000 entrants, Darren Waller will probably get taken in close to every draft. But even if that does happen, his ownership mark in this contest is going to be extremely low. So I think you can make a strong argument at this point. We'll take Marvin Harrison here at 28. Y'all know I'm not the biggest Harrison guy, and yesterday in the stream we kept on reaching on JSN, but it is what it is. But yeah, with Darren Waller, if you do mix him in round 18, and he is an option that is really good in the final 3 weeks, there won't be too many teams that have him. And realistically, like there are really no other players that can draw targets in Miami. Now, obviously, if you're in your regular ESPN, your regular Yahoo league, there's no world in which you ever draft Darren Waller. In the Flock League, 0% chance I take this dude. The only way he's interesting is if you're drafting a best ball team, you have to take a third tight end. You're in round 17, round 18, and you need to look at somebody that can give you leverage over the rest of the field where he's low owned. And like I said earlier, when we were talking about Jonnu Smith leaving, there are very, very few options left in Miami at this point. So reasonably, I think he could probably get on the field. Obviously, this team could still trade for Michael Mayer. They could still trade for Cole Kmet. They can still go get Noah Fant. They still do have options. But let me move this over. Cold World says no one is taking Darren Waller. I would not be surprised at all if Darren Waller gets drafted here, my friend. Like, let me see. Can I pull up Waller in the player comparison? Yeah, I can. Okay. Let's look at Darren Waller. When's the last time Waller played? 2022, 9.4 points per game. He was tied in 10. 2023, tied in 13 in points per game. Averaged 9.4 points. I don't know if Waller's not worth a shot in comparison to like Dalton Schultz, especially at lower ownership. James Cook off the board at 43. George Kittle goes, we're just going to continue to play catch up at wide receiver. We'll take DJ Moore here. Like when we go Barkley Bowers out the gate, we are very much having to lean on wide receiver over the next few rounds, which in theory, we should be far out ahead of the rest of the field at both tight end as well as running back. Okay. Devonta Smith off at 47. Y'all know some of my favorite plays are going to be Devonta Smith at the end of the 4th and Jalen Hurts at the beginning of the 5th. For that reason, I've drafted a lot more Devonta Smith than I have DJ Moore. But the issue with our team here specifically is I probably am not looking at Jalen Hurts as a plan A when we took Saquon Barkley and we're still playing catch up at wide receiver. Like, unless something crazy like Amari and Hampton falling, I'm probably going to have to look at wide receiver here at pick 52 regardless. Okay. Let's see. Hampton off at 49. Zay Flowers goes 50, puts us in a really good spot. I would assume that this team just... Wait, what? The Devonta Smith team passed on Jalen Hurts? I love Hurts here, but I think now that you have no Jonnu, I will take this as an easy opportunity to bump up our exposure to Jalen Waddle. I'm surprised that Devonta Smith team just opted to go with Zay Flowers over Jalen Hurts. Maybe because they know that they have a good shot at getting Burrow on the way back around at pick 71 to pair up with Higgins. But I'm very excited about this team. Harrison, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, wide receiver. It doesn't seem like the worst wide receiver room in the world. And we get to lead off with Barkley and Brock Bowers, right? So when we have Barkley and Bowers, the goal is just do not fall too far behind at the wide receiver position. And looking at our wide receivers as well, we do have the stacking options of Caleb, of Kyler, as well as Tua. So pretty excited about this team. And that team at 6 gets Jalen Hurts to pair up with A.J. Brown. This is the nuts team in this draft. This is the best team. They have Jahmyr Gibbs, James Cook at running back, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson at wide receiver, then the elite quarterback with Jalen Hurts stacked up with A.J. Brown. Yeah, this team at 6 is a real shot to win 100K. They do. Justin says, good start, Mason. I'm going to pick 8. Justin is here with Puka. Tyreek, you went with Tyreek there at 17, my guy. That is crazy. Okay. Let's see. David Sports Card says, how much should I bid for Darren Waller, Mason? Really just depends on your league settings. It's going to be a completely different answer in a 14-team dynasty league where you roster 30 players in comparison to a 10-team dynasty league where you're only rostering 20. Two completely different answers. Okay. Let's move this over. Sam Laporta off at 62. We're going to get a pretty strong value. And again, just make sure you know what the setup is here. This is a best ball draft, so there's no time commitment at all during the season. If you don't know how a best ball tournament works and you're looking at a $20 entry for $100,000 first place prize, here's the setup. You're going to go up against the 11 other people you draft against in weeks 1 through 14 for the regular season. The 2 highest scoring teams advance to the fantasy football playoff tournament. Where in week 15, you'll play against 5 other teams. If you're the highest scoring team there, you'll advance to week 16, where you play against 4 other teams. If you're the highest scoring team there, you'll go to week 17, where you'll play against 155 other people. And if you're the highest scoring person there, that's how you get 100K for first, 50K for second, 25K for third, all the way down the line. But let's move this over. And of course, if you wanted to hop in an Underdog draft, you do need to be in one of these states. You can see the map there. It's in all the big ones. It's in New York. It's in Texas, etc., etc. And I always leave the link in the live chat, comment section, and description where it says draft with us here. And you just click that. If you use promo code FLOCK, you will get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Plus, at the same time, you'll get all my 2025 fantasy football rankings and draft guide cheat sheets. So make sure you take advantage. And Justin has some good insight for us when it comes to Tyreek. Tyreek is a freak and a baby maker like Mason. Can't argue with it. Cannot argue with it. And let's move this down. We're going to go Jerry Jeudy over RJ Harvey, Trevion Henderson. Maybe that's the wrong play. Maybe we should just go ahead and take the running back faller. But my take is, if we're looking at this tier running backs, I think we have a running back making it back to us at 76 that we like. I think we have a teardrop coming at wide receiver relatively soon. So I'm just going to take Jerry Jeudy, and I'll probably get a running back on the way back around. And again, we start with Barkley and Bowers. So we very much are trying to optimize for wide receivers with our next picks. But RJ Harvey making it down to round 7. Maybe the first draft I've ever seen round 7 RJ Harvey in. Let's see what the team at 2 does. Team at 2 goes Egbuka. Dear God. I titled this live stream that drafts just got weird, and drafts did just get weird. We're going to go Quinshon Judkins. I think he's a great prospect. I think the issue is the offense is going to be an absolute dumpster fire. But with that being said, we already drafted Jerry Jeudy, so maybe we're making a bet on what if the Browns offense is better than people are expecting? What if they can put it together? So we'll go with it. Mason says, thoughts on Tyreek versus Lyles? Are they officially going to be racing? Because if so, Tyreek has everything to gain and Noah Lyles has everything to lose. Like, he beat Isho's Speed in a race, and then everybody's like, ooh, Speed almost won. And it just made him look bad, right? Okay. Nate says Lyles ducking him. That's what I thought. But again, if you think of it from a perspective of like, what does Noah Lyles have to gain from racing Tyreek Hill? If he wins, then people go, cool, you're an Olympic sprinter. You're supposed to win. Who cares? And if he loses, it will be national news. So it's all downside, no upside. So I don't know why he would do it. Unless he was going to get paid a decent amount of money, they could broadcast it and make it a big event. Zanman says, what draft are you running right now? I'd love to hop in one with you. If you want to get in our next draft, my friend, I think we're probably going to do a Pitbull next. Nico says, Kutera Hammy racing him not worth it. The only reason it would be worth it is if they could go through and say like, hey, this is going to be, obviously would not be anywhere close to this level big, but do your absolute best to try to make it like Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, right? Make it a massive spectacle where they're both going to get paid and there's a massive entertainment thing behind it. If it's like, hey, they're going to race and it's going to be a YouTube video, it's probably not worth it for them. Okay. Patrick Mahomes, Brian Robinson off the board. I know who we want. Let's see if we get him. The Mosh says, why hasn't Tyreek been drafted yet? I think most people would not look to draft Tyreek Hill within the first 150 picks of fantasy drafts this year. So, like, now that Darren Waller's in Miami, there's no reason to try to draft. We're going to take Kyler Murray to pair him up with Harrison. And in general, I really like the Kyler Murray price here. But yeah, the Mush, in regards of Tyreek not being drafted, again, Darren Waller signed in Miami, so I think most people are moving Tyreek Hill down past about 150 in their rankings. I would say you should probably look to see Tyreek Hill off the board at around 15 or 16. Yeah, King Rube says Tyreek's the last round flyer now. I wouldn't go that aggressive with it, but I would take him in around 15. I'll take him in around 15. Now, Travis Etienne off the board. Mark Wirtz says Waller will just open things up for Tyreek. It's funny. Jaden Higgins goes 96. Let's move this back over. Keon Coleman goes 97. I don't want to say too much until we're actually on the clock, but in general, I'm not that excited about our options at 100. And Jalen Warren was the one guy I wanted. I may just take an unstacked Baker. Now, we have too many stacking options to do that. I think we may just take Shaheed. Or do we take Tracy? We're going to take Shaheed. It feels so bad. Unbelievably bad. That probably was one of the worst decisions we've ever made. But let's move this over. Now, running back, we have Barkley, Quinshon Judkins. Tight end, we have Brock Bowers. Wide receiver, we have Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Rashid Shaheed. And then we have Kyler at quarterback stacked with Harrison. But some of these people in this draft, I have no idea what y'all are doing. Like, I never want to question anybody with a red badge, because if you have a red badge, it means you've done 1,000 underdog drafts. But what the hell is this team doing at 2? This team at 2 took Devonta Smith in the 4th, passed on Jalen Hurts in the 5th, took Igbuka in the 7th, and passed on Baker in the 9th. Like, what is going on? They're just slamming rookie wide receivers as if it's a dynasty draft. Liam says, with Miami signing such a great player, are we going to see Tyreek traded soon? Maybe Tyreek Hill will start getting drafted again above pick 150 in fantasy drafts if he did get dealt. But like, you just have to pencil in a 30% team target share for Darren Waller at the very minimum. So it's hard for Tyreek to go up against a talent like that. Matt says, in here at 1, thoughts on the build so far. It would have been embarrassing if Matt said, in here at 2, thoughts on the build so far. 1, we have Chase, Bucky, McBride, Sutton, Hampton, Ricky Pearsall, RJ Harvey. Yeah, obviously hindsight's 2020, but maybe opting to go, we can't play armchair quarterback like that. You had no idea that RJ Harvey and Henderson were going to fall to you at the 6-7 turn. I think it's a good team. It's an awkward spot, like of taking Keon Coleman versus Brock Purdy, Bo Nix to pair up with Sutton. Because you are sniped on the Chase, Burrow. You're sniped on Kyler McBride. When you pass on Bo Nix, you're obviously not going to get him on the way back. You're not going to get Purdy on the way back. Keon Coleman already had Josh Allen gone, so I think you're just going to get boxed out of quarterback. So I think at 97 instead of Keon, I probably would have gone Bo Nix. Okay, let's move this back. Boom, 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 boom. I don't feel too bad about our Shaheed pick, looking at what the options are for us at quarterback now. And at wide receiver now. A quarterback, we have a strong option. We have Caleb Williams. We're going to take Caleb Williams, pair him up with DJ Moore. This is what stopped me from taking Baker in the last round unstacked. So I was just like, oh, okay, well, we take Baker unstacked in the last round. We're not able to take Caleb Williams here. So we'll go Caleb. Let me pull up the historical data and see if I'm allowed to take a third quarterback or if we're going to be done at QB at this point. My guess is we are more likely than not going to have the option to go with 2 or 3 quarterbacks, depending on what falls to us. Kyle Williams goes 121. I know who we want. Let's see if we get him. Actually, we have Bowers. Never mind. Full transparency, I wanted Tyler Warren, but with Brock Bowers, I don't know if that's the best idea. I think maybe we should go with Ramondre. Ramondre makes a lot of sense pairing up with Judkins. You potentially get Ramondre production early in the year, Judkins production late in the year when Ramondre falls off due to Trevon Henderson expanding his role. So, in a normal draft where we didn't take Bowers, I probably would go ahead and I would take Tyler Ward in this round. But specifically here where we take Bowers in round 2, I think we just probably got to play it safe and go with Ramondre. But let me see if we can take the third quarterback. Yeah, if you go quarterback in round 8 and round 10, 3 QB builds have higher advance rates to the playoffs and higher semifinals rates as well. And the final rates are about identical. So we'll probably look to grab a third quarterback. If we do take a third quarterback, it's probably not going to be for a while. We're probably going to try to go for like Tua late or Geno Smith late to pair up with either Waddle or Darren Waller goes at pick 131. Darren Waller goes ahead of David Njoku in this draft. I will say right now, personally, if Darren Waller is getting drafted ahead of David Njoku, I will never draft Darren Waller a single time. Never. It will never happen. Loveland goes 135. I kind of wanted Loveland on the way back around. Y'all know I like Tyler Warren. I like Loveland. And we had Caleb Williams here. But Peters says, that's insanity. I got him with the last pick like an hour ago. Last pick I'll be happy with. Especially in these tournaments where he's going to be at lower ownership. But that is a little bit tougher. Now, looking at the quarterbacks here, we don't have any Jags. We don't have any Texans. Now, technically, we have options for these guys later on. We could go Lawrence now, and we can go Diami Brown later. We could go Brenton Strange later. With CJ Stroud, we can take him now, and we can look at Jalen Noel later. We can look at Dalton Schultz later. Or we can just play it safe, go with the running back and Trey Benson. I've drafted a lot of him. I think that he should touch the ball a couple times this year, even without a James Conner injury. And if you were to get a Conner injury, I think you could have a very high ceiling for him. Okay. Now, Rashad White goes 145. I think you'll probably know what I'm looking at here, but I don't want to say it. Jaden Blue off 146. Come home. Come home to Papa. My long-lost son. My favorite child. My firstborn. The one that carries my namesake. The one that I'm investing everything into. Come on down the big Q. Ooh, feels good. Feels good. Marker Word says, who is this year's Josh Jacobs? Quentin Johnston, my friend. Thanks for asking. So now running back, we have Saquon Barkley, Quinshon Judkins, Ramondre Stevenson, Trey Benson, solid running back room. Tight end, we have Brock Bowers, the best tight end room in this draft. Quarterback, we have Kyler stacked with Harrison. We have Caleb stacked with DJ Moore. Solid quarterback room. Wide receiver, we have Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Rashid Shaheed, as well as the big Q. So, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Nick says if Ladd gets injured, Mason wins so much money. Come on, let's be real here. We're winning no matter what. We are winning no matter what. Okay. Amblix says, first time I've caught one of these live. Happy to have you, my friend. Thank you for stopping by. And again, if you want to come out to more of these live streams, if you hit the bell next to the subscribe button, YouTube will tell you when we are live. Now, of course, if you don't want YouTube telling you when we're live, don't do it. But they could. Let's see. Eckler goes 153. Tua off the board at 152. Tua would have been interesting for us if I wasn't just blinded with love for my guy. But, and ooh. That's from the person in the stream that's picking at 8 that took Tyreek. Let's see what the Darren Waller team does. The Darren Waller team decides to go Cam Ward. So this team at 11, their wide receiver room is St. Brown, London, DK Metcalf, Rome Odunze. Quincua says, do you work on the website full-time? Don't know exactly what that means. Is fantasy football my full-time job? Yes. Is it just working on flockfantasy.com? No. I also work on YouTube, if you count that. But let's move this back over. Britton Strange goes 158. That team is yet to take their 5th wide receiver. They did go wide receiver extremely early, though. Okay, let's move this back. And let me go back over and see QB3 after round 13. Interesting. Nick Chubb off the board at 161. It's probably going to be a team where we only take 5 running backs. Gino goes. Gino's who we are going to be looking at here to pair up with Bowers. Hunter Henry goes. We are going to take Bryce Young. Bryce Young is one of only 2 quarterbacks left that's guaranteed a starting job this year. We don't have any Panthers, but at the same time, maybe we can just say his points during the season advance us to the playoff tournament, where in weeks 15 through 17, we're hoping from a Kyler and a Caleb spike. Jivey says, came to say congrats on the W last season in the Streamer League. I was wrong. You were right. If you're referring to the Flock League, if you doubted me, shame on you, my friend. Shame on you. Jalen McMillan off the board. Between Roshan and Tank, I probably prefer Roshan. Yeah, let's just go ahead and take Roshan. Both are absolute massive fallers in this draft. Bigsby has an ADP of 158. So Bigsby is in an absolute free fall at this point. And we'll see if he keeps falling. Mason sadly did not win the Flock League. The editor of my channel is the one who bounced us out. The same guy who bounced us out in knockout of the Flock League. But we did put on a good performance. We finished second in the regular season. We got ourselves a bye. And then, like I said, in the semifinals, we got knocked out by our own editor, which I'll take that as a win for me because I taught him everything he knows. And once we go Roshan at 172, I'm probably done drafting running backs. Obviously, Barkley needs to stay healthy for this team. If Barkley gets injured, we cooked. Yeah, I actually checked out Vegas sportsbook lines because y'all know what they say. They say Vegas sportsbooks know more than you do. They know more than I do. They know more than all of us. And they already put out odds on Flock League results for the 2025 season. And right now, a Mason Dodd championship currently sits at minus 800. So apparently we're the super heavy favorite. I kind of understand why based off our performance last year. And you know what they say? We're due. Okay. Rico Dowdle goes. We are going to take 2 more receivers and then a tight end. Darnold making it back to us maybe makes me feel like we should have just taken Darnold later. Because again, we are just wide receiver and tight end at this point. Justice Hill goes 186. Happy to see it. Our wide receiver room's not that bad. I mean, we have Jerry Jeudy as our wide receiver 4. Issue is, obviously, we don't have any of the elite names. No matter what, we're going to get one of these tight ends on the way back. So we're just going to take DeAndre Hopkins here. I know most smart people would take Jalen Coker to pair up with Bryce Young. I'm not smart, though. I don't like Jalen Coker, so I'm not going to draft Jalen Coker. Okay. Ronald says, why are 3 QB builds with 2 top 12 guys? Because I looked at the historical math, and if I took my quarterback 1 in round 8, quarterback 2 in round 10, the historical math tells us that's not a bad idea taking a 3rd quarterback, especially in a smaller field contest. Hunter says, have you seen any Bowers-McBride combos, and would you do that? No, I would strongly try to not take a Bowers-McBride combo. If you really like Bowers and you really like McBride, I think you're completely fine to be overweight with them and draft them in a lot of these drafts. But to take them both on the same team, probably a little too aggressive. We're going to take Jatavion Sanders here, pair him up with Bryce Young, and then we'll just queue up some random bum wide receivers for the end of this draft. So here's the squad. Running back, we have Barkley holding down the fort. We have Judkins for some late season upside. And then hopefully we can mix in some usage of Ramondre Stevenson, Trey Benson, and Roshan Johnson. Quarterback, we have Kyler stacked with Marvin. We have Caleb stacked with DJ Moore. We have Bryce Young stacked with Jatavion Sanders. Tight end, we have Brock Bowers and Jatavion Sanders. And at wide receiver, we have Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Rashid Shaheed, Quentin Johnston, and DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I know maybe it seems like we're a little bit light on wide receiver, but maybe you just haven't opened your third eye to the fact that the Big Q will be a top 24 wide receiver this season. So let's move this over, and maybe we will take Jalen Coker if he makes it back for the Bryce Young pairing. And if not, we'll queue up some of the late round bum wide receivers that we usually are looking at here. Is there anybody else that could be interesting? Throw in Deontay. Isaac Tesla. I'm not ever taking Elijah Moore. I guess Ray McLeod. Okay, we have enough wide receivers queued up for round 18, guy. We're going to go ahead and hop in another draft here. We're going to get in the Pitbull. Oh my gosh. Okay, here's one thing that grinds my gears. The lady is always making smoothies. Completely fine. I like a good smoothie. You do you. I've made smoothies since I was 16. However, when she thinks she needs to make a smoothie, she doesn't understand that the blender can get the job done in about 30 seconds. She thinks that to blend the fruit, the blender has to be running as long as you would run the oven to cook a chicken. The blender's been running for the past 30 minutes in my house right now. Like, I don't know. I don't know how these apples aren't blended by now, but insane. But Desire Best in this draft with us at 6. Saram, happy to see my guy in here at pick 10. Mason on roids in here at pick 9. But Zach is going to wear out the blade and engine. Oh, you're telling me, my friend. Oh my God, the blender's going off again. I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm going crazy. I'm going crazy. Super Sauce in here at 1. Demonic Celery in here at 12. I'm texting her right now. I'm saying, you need to stop blending. This is crazy. You are a little crazy person. She acts like she doesn't have teeth. Like, it's like she needs to put it in an IV to go straight to the blood. It needs to be so thin. Zib says, how serious are you meaning about Quentin Johnson? Do you think he actually could? I think Quentin Johnson could be a top 24 wide receiver. Do I think it's likely? No. Do I think he's a fine pick at wide receiver 63? Yes. Because same thing last year. Last year we were getting him at like wide receiver 70, 80 before the season started. It's like he can come through and give us 3 usable weeks. He's a great pick. Tom says the Big Q cannot catch. Here's what I need from you, Tom. Please let me know real quick. And genuine question. Who's your favorite pick with where the Big Q goes? Wide receivers 60 through 70. Take a little screenshot. Let me know who you like here. And we'll compare him to the Big Q. And we're going to take McCaffrey. Y'all know I draft a lot of McCaffrey in these underdog drafts just because I'm completely fine taking the risk that this dude may not do anything. But at the end of the day, it's a $20 buy-in, $100,000 first place prize. No other players have that type of ceiling. Okay. So I'm going to wait for Tom to tell us his favorite player in that range. Will says Leggett. Okay, let's look at the Big Q in comparison to Leggett. Malik Neighbors, Genty, St. Brown, Derrick Henry, Nico Collins. Brian Thomas goes. Do we want London? F it. Well, no, we're going to take Achane. We're going to go running back. And similar to the last draft, we are going to be forced to just slam wide receivers in the middle rounds. Tom says, in that range, Coleman. What's the Coleman that goes in that range? What Coleman are you talking about? Are you losing your mind? Am I? There's no Coleman here. Are you talking about Keon Coleman? Are you talking about the Keon Coleman that goes 10 rounds before? What the hell are you smoking? Yes, I would not draft the big Q ahead of Keon Coleman. Okay, this blender's still going off. I got to go see what the hell's going on. It will take me 1 second. Okay, she says she's making a sauce, not a smoothie. Still, I'm no sauce expert, but I don't know if the blender needs to go for 30 minutes for a sauce. Okay. Oh, let's see. Yeah. I agree. Let me walk my statement back. The big Q is not a good pick at wide receiver 63. He can't catch. Instead, we should take Keon Coleman 10 rounds before. Okay. LC says, did you hear the Sydney Sweeney Tom Brady rumors? I'd check your girl. Okay, real quick. Use your freaking brain. Okay. Do you really think my girl Sydney would have any interest in Tom Brady at all? Or if you use your brain, you will realize I have interest on getting Tom Brady to do an underdog draft with me. So I thought, what is the easiest way to get Tom Brady in the studio out to Austin, Texas to draft a fantasy football team with me and possibly get him in the Flock League? I went, Sydney and I are going to be at Jeff Bezos' wedding. Why don't I ask Sydney to go get Tom Brady? Do something for me. You're using the blender all freaking day. So, yeah. If you just thought for a second, you would realize that, of course, my girl Sydney would not ever have interest in Tom Brady over somebody like yours truly. But instead, the actual situation is I just need the Flock League hookup, and she was willing to help me out because she owed me one. Okay. Yeah, atom by atom smoothie. Exactly. We're in my kitchen right now trying to separate the protons from the neutrons in our fruit. Okay. Zach says, the best way is to start a crypto company and pay him $100 million to be your friend. I'll start a fantasy football company. I'll pay him $100. How about that? May not have 100 million, but I got 100. Okay. Let's see. DJ Moore, Jalen Hurts, DK Metcalf. So Jalen Hurts goes to the AJ Brown team there. So we take Xavier Worthy. I know, obviously, Worthy's been a big-time follower with the positive news that we've gotten surrounding Rashee Rice. I still think, in general, the Chiefs' offense can surprise to the upside when it comes to the passing volume this year. So we'll hopefully capture some of that with Worthy. Sir Alexander says, if you separate the protons from the neutrons, you'll set off an atomic explosion. That's why I had to turn off my camera to go in there and tell her that. I was like, are you really trying to set off an atomic bomb in the kitchen during the stream? How could I possibly turn the stream off if that happened? Okay. Zach says, in the story about FTX, Michael Lewis legit reported that Tom Brady was paid that much to be SBF's friend and to be in a few commercials and TikToks. The thing about that is, if you're running a scam company and you just need people to be able to deposit money so you can use their money for whatever. Like, you just need a face that people are going to trust. People will see Tom Brady's face and they'll trust it, right? He carries a lot of social credit. So if Tom Brady got paid $100 million to like be a face of FTX, did he bring in $100 million of deposits? Probably. Okay, we're going to go with Zay Flowers. Again, we took McCaffrey and Achane out the gate, so we're just playing catch-up at wide receiver now. It didn't really matter what wide receiver versus running back fell to us in the fifth, unless it was something absolutely crazy, like if Amari and Hampton fell, I would have taken Hampton. But if it's Chuba Hubbard, Kenneth Walker, Kamara, Joe Mixon versus like Zay Flowers, I'm just going to get the wide receiver points. We need them. Henry says, must be 2023 again. A.J. Brown pick 7 and Waller being drafted. Let's see where Darren Waller goes in this one. Darren Waller went ahead of David Njoku in the last one. Let's see. Jordan Addison off the board at 62. Chris Olave gone. We will take Chris Godwin. Nice thing about the setup that we have on this team now is we have a couple different options for our quarterbacks in the coming rounds. Like, we can go Mahomes to pair with Worthy. We can go with Baker to pair with Godwin. We have Stafford with Adams. We have Purdy with McCaffrey. We have Tua with Achane. So I actually like this setup. McCaffrey, Achane through the first 2 rounds. I think this does give us just a ridiculous amount of upside. Obviously, if McCaffrey stays healthy and if Tua stays healthy. But if those 2 things occur, I think both McCaffrey and Achane could get to 24 points per game. Okay. Let's move this back over. And yeah, let's show this off. I know we've looked at this a bunch, but if you pull up the player comparison tool and look at like Achane and McCaffrey to see the ceiling that you truly have. Like, over the past 2 years, Achane 17.5 points per game, McCaffrey 22. But if for McCaffrey, you only look at the year he was last fully healthy in 2023, and with Achane, if you only look at this past year when Tua came back, weeks like 9 through 17, then you're looking at 19.4 points per game for Achane and 24.5 points per game for McCaffrey. Crazy ceiling start at running back. Okay. Fizz says, where do you rank Waller for this upcoming season? Where I'm putting him is I think he's a very interesting round 15, 16, 17, 18 tight end in tournaments. In redraft leagues, no interest. But in a lot of these tournaments that a good percentage of the teams have already been drafted, Darren Waller is going to be low owned. Okay. Which will be interesting because if he crushes, you won't have to go up against too many teams with him. Now, DeAndre Swift goes 76. Dave Montgomery off 77. Judkins off 78. Shakir goes 79. We're going to get Diggs. We are still playing catch up at wide receiver. The hesitation I have taking Diggs here is that we also have Godwin, right? So we have 2 older wide receivers coming off very significant injuries. So if this team hits, we may start slow and we may have a very high ceiling for the final 3 weeks, but the beginning of the year could be rough in terms of our chances of advancing. But it is nice that Godwin and Diggs are wide receivers 4 and 5. So in theory, if Adams, Worthy, Flowers can provide us production at the beginning of the year, we may be fine. Okay. Let's see. Josh Downs goes 84 to Demonic Celery. He also takes Hawkinson. I think I know who we want. Let's see if anybody takes him from us. Aaron Jones goes 86. Let me wait till I'm on the clock and then I'll say all my thoughts on this pick. Brian Robinson off the board. I think at wide receiver, if we were to take one, I'd probably have to go Michael Pittman Jr., look for a wide receiver that can give us production at the beginning of the year. Ayuk, obviously, destroyed knee. I don't want to be pairing up Ayuk with both Godwin and Diggs. Egbuka also at the same time. You're probably looking at a later season push. Patrick Mahomes, just a natural pick with Worthy. A big reason why we decided to take Worthy in round 4 is I personally believe we can still get Mahomes to the same ceiling that we once had. Like, I know over the past 2 years, if we average them out, Patrick Mahomes has not been a great passer. The volume hasn't been there. It has been frustrating. Like, looking at this over the past 2 years for Mahomes, he's been the QB 12 in points per game, 17.6 points per contest. However, if we wanted to go through and look at maybe the previous 3 years, 2022, 2021, 2020, Patrick Mahomes at 23.5 points per game, the QB2, averaging over 300 passing yards per game in a 3-season stretch. Now, obviously, the Chiefs did not throw the ball a ton the past 2 seasons. Like, we can just kind of see that with every single statistic we just showed on those cards. But maybe if you have a fully healthy Rashee Rice, a fully healthy Worthy going into year 2, a fully healthy Hollywood Brown, a slightly worse defense, we end up getting Mahomes back to 300 passing yards a game. Zach says Team 7's drafting crazy. Henry says Team 7 knows ball. Team 7 has A.J. Brown, Ladd, Jacoby Myers, Khalil Shakir at wide receiver. Running back, they have Brees and Chuba. Quarterback, they have Jalen Hurts stacked with A.J. Brown. They have Justin Fields paired up with Brees Hall. So, yeah. Shamrock says Team 4 is balling. Team 4 has Gibbs, Jacobs out the gate. Wide receiver, Garrett Wilson, Calvin Ridley, Ricky Pearsall, Keon Coleman. Tight end, George Kittle. And then also took a DeAndre Swift. Overall, I really like our team. I like having McCaffrey, Echan on the same squad. I like playing catch up at wide receiver here in the middle rounds and still getting high upside quarterback with Mahomes. Baker goes 99 to a team with no Bucks. Which Baker would have been in play for us considering we took Godwin. Shaheed off at 100. Purdy goes to the Juwan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk team. Very clear Purdy pick for them. I would have done the same thing. Cup goes 102 to Desire Best. Great pick on his end. I would have loved to get Cup there at 105. Bateman goes 103. So it looks like we kind of get boxed out of wide receiver. Y'all know I'm not the biggest Trey Harris guy. And whenever we take these wide receivers in the upcoming rounds, and just any player in general, I kind of don't want to be optimizing for ceiling in weeks 15 through 17 because I think we kind of already have that with Godwin and Diggs. What I think our team lacks is probably production at the beginning of the year, which I do think that Jalen Warren can fit that mold. And I think we could get some Jalen Warren early season flex usages before Caleb Johnson has a larger role in this offense. So we'll take Jalen Warren at pick 105. Najee goes 109. Let's move this back. Luther Burden, Trey Harris both go. We can take May if we want. If we take May, are we done at quarterback? Probably. We'll go ahead and take Drake May. Here's my assumption when we pulled this up. I'm going to... God dang, why is this camera making me so bright? But I'm going to double check. I think when we go Mahomes and May in rounds 8 and 10, we're probably done drafting QB. So looking at it, we have a higher playoff rate, higher semifinals rate, and about the same finals rate if we take the third quarterback. So we may end up going with the third QB. Now, if we do, I probably don't want to take another quarterback for a while, though. So Alexander says, Mason, have you tried the Superflex drafts? It's a super interesting draft dynamic at only $5. Yeah, if y'all don't know, Underdog does have Superflex puppy drafts out right now. I am not good at them. I'm very bad. Every single time I've ever tried a Superflex puppy draft, I've gotten just absolutely spanked. So, despite the rumors, I'm not a big fan of getting spanked. So I'm going to keep my little butt in the one quarterback rooms for now. Okay. Zach says Trey Harris will be nice for you. If it wasn't for the big Q, maybe. But and then after we take Drake May, it is nice to see these other quarterbacks go, right? Because if we could have had like Dak Prescott make it back to us at 129, I would have felt pretty bad about our Drake May pick. But seeing the quarterbacks off the board makes me feel a little bit better. I think the next draft we're going to get in, I only have one Pitbull draft left. So we'll probably save it for tomorrow. Maybe we hop in a BBM after this one. Desire Best says Team 3 goes with 2 unstacked quarterbacks. Team 3, Baker, 99, Dak Prescott, 118. Did they have quarterback stacking options? No, Burrow got sniped from Yeah, the big mistake Team 3 made was just not taking Kyler Murray at 94. Henry wants a big dog draft. I'll probably hold off on that one, my friend. Let's swing this back. What is Underdog doing? Update this Jonnu Smith Miami tag. Loveland goes, y'all know I do not like Kyle Williams. However, we need a wide receiver. We took Drake May. So we'll go ahead and we'll take Kyle Williams. Let me see exactly how underweight I am Kyle Williams. I'd imagine it's a decent amount, but if we're ever going to take the dude, which I know a lot of film guys like him, I know he doesn't have a lot of competition in New England. I know that we do have some upside here for this Pats offense with Drake May, and we already kind of bet on that upside by drafting Drake May himself. This would kind of be the spot to take him. Yeah, so I have Kyle Williams in about 5.5% of these leagues. Kincaid off the board. Stroud goes. Saram is up. Dallas Goddard goes. I think we take Tajay Spears. I think a lot of our team is situated around upside in weeks 15 through 17. I don't mind at all getting some of these running backs in here that I think could give us a random early season spike or two to hit the flex. And then obviously we're only going to draft 5 total running backs. But now running back, we have CMC, Achane, Jalen Warren, Tajay Spears. Quarterback, we have Mahomes stacked with Worthy. We have Drake May double stacked with Diggs and Kyle Williams. And wide receiver, we have Devontae Adams, Xavier Worthy, Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, Stephon Diggs, and Kyle Williams. Demonic Celery says, like my team at 12. Good balance start. Let's check out his team at 12. St. Brown, Derrick Henry, Lamar, Evans. So super balanced out the gate. Then a Rome, Harvey, Downs, Hawk, Caleb to pair with Rome, Najee, Hollywood, Kincaid. Yeah, I like the start as well. Rabona says, go Waller here. Don't get sniped. Last draft, Waller went pick 131. See where he ends up going in this one. Pat Bryant, 144. I kind of like in the streams yesterday, we did not take Jonnu or Pat Frymuth at all. Kind of like me just avoiding them and seeing where will they go. Like, where are people willing to take him? And then obviously potentially making an adjustment from there. Okay. Leggett goes 147. Bigsby, Palmer off the board. At some point, Jonnu does become interesting, right? We have 6 receivers. We definitely need to take at least 7. The minimum, we're taking 7 receivers. Possibly 8. McCarthy goes to Desire Best at a massive value. That was an unstacked McCarthy, but I don't fault him at all for doing so 2 rounds after ADP. I was honestly going to take McCarthy if he made it to us. Damari Douglas goes. So does Michael Penix. Y'all know I like Trey Benson. We're going to take Trey Benson and then call it a day at running back. We don't necessarily need that 5th running back right here, but I just like him more than the other wide receivers that are available now. And then we are done at running back. We are only quarterback, wide receiver, and tight end. So Cedric, Algier. For us, it's good to see as many running backs off as possible. God. Jonnu is interesting at this price. Dobbs, but Stafford is as well, knowing we have Adams. We kind of were planning on that 3rd quarterback. Young goes. I don't know. I'm not going to fault anybody at all for taking Jonnu at this point. Kind of want to see where he'll go if we don't take him. Let's just take Stafford, pair him up with Adams, get our 3rd quarterback out of the way. Running back, we now have CMC, Achane, Jalen Warren, Tajay Spears, Trey Benson. I know quarterback seems a little aggressive going with the 3rd, already having Mahomes in May, but if you look at the historical data, kind of says that we should take a 3rd quarterback here. So we have Mahomes stacked with Worthy. We have May double stacked up with Diggs and Kyle Williams. We have Stafford paired up with Devontae Adams. Wide receiver, don't know if we already said this. We have Adams, Worthy, Flowers, Godwin, Diggs, Kyle Williams. And then running back, we have CMC, Achane, Jalen Warren, Tajay Spears, Trey Benson. So it's a team where we're going to take one more wide receiver, and then we're going to just start drafting some tight ends. Henry says you have 0 tight ends through 14 rounds. Yes, let me pull up the historical math and see what does a 0 tight end. Let's say we take our tight end 1 in round 15. What does this look like for Underdog? We need to take 3 to 4 tight ends. And if we take 3 tight ends, we have an above average advance rate to the playoffs, a well above average advance rate to the semifinals, and above average rate of advancement to the finals. So the historical math, of course, doesn't guarantee that's going to be the case this year. But if you would have done this in Best Ball Mania over the past 4 years, you would have made a lot of money. Yeah, Waller goes 170. I definitely was going to look at Waller here in the late rounds. So again, I think it is interesting to take him in a spot in which you have him going undrafted with a lot of these tournaments. We're going to take Mike Gesicki here at 177. That's our first tight end. Braylon Allen goes. I just think that there are a lot of wide receivers that we can get interested in. Okay, Okay. Drew says, why are the elite tight ends falling like Bowers and McBride? I just think that in general, people are liking their teams more when they go with the running backs and wide receivers early. I don't know if this trend will continue, but as of now, it has. Okay, Miles Sanders goes 181. I like the squad a lot, to be honest with you. Wandale goes 182. Wandale was going to be my pick if we were on the board. We're going to take Mason Taylor. I'd rather have Mason Taylor over Pat Frymuth. And like I said, I think our next draft we'll get in will be a BBM. But running back, CMC, Achane, Warren, Spears, Benson. Quarterback, Mahomes with Worthy. May with Diggs and Kyle Williams. Stafford with Adams. Wide receiver, Adams, Worthy, Flowers, Godwin, Diggs, Kyle Williams, and then whatever bum we take in round 17. And then tight end, we have Gesicki, Mason Taylor, and then whatever bum we take in round 17 or 18. Bougie says, who's more cooked, Pat Frymuth or Jonnu Smith? Pat Frymuth for me. Like, I don't know if we'll take Pat Frymuth in this draft. Maybe we will. But Snakehead Schultz says, do you think Jameson remains wide receiver 2 level production without Ben Johnson this year? Was Jameson a wide receiver 2 last season? Let me pull this up. Player comparison. Jameson Williams. Because it is funny that people use Ben Johnson's departure against a lot of players in this Lions offense, but they almost treat it as if it's a good thing when it comes to Jameson. Jameson last season was the wide receiver 26 in points per game, so technically a high-end wide receiver 3. Now, if you look at totals, he bumps up to the wide receiver 22, but again, I like looking at per game numbers. If we average this out through his entire NFL career, the games that he's played, no bueno. But maybe it's unfair to do that. Maybe you just need to look at 2024 for Jameson. But even here, you got an 18.7% team target share. You got less than 4 receptions a game. I'm not a big Jameson Williams guy. Like, if you think the Lions offense gets worse, Jameson's the one guy that's getting drafted well ahead of where he finished last year in the offense. Okay, wide receiver, tight ends. So here's the thought process when it comes to, I'm actually completely fine taking Darius Slayton here. I think that Slayton gives us some usable weeks early on, which is a big thing that we need whenever we have like Godwin, Diggs, Kyle Williams. Here's my thought process with tight end. I like Terrence Ferguson around 18. We have Stafford. But again, we also have Mason Taylor on this team, so we're already building around a rookie tight end. I don't know if Mike Gesicki's going to be able to just get us through the entire beginning portion of the season. We can hope that we get a Mason Taylor or a Terrence Ferguson breakout later in the year. So we'll see. But in general, I think for this kind of setup, maybe we shouldn't overthink it. Maybe we shouldn't care that like, oh, okay, we have a lot of players that may not be producing early in the year. Let's get an old crusty veteran in like Jawan Johnson. Maybe we just go with the tight end that I like that correlates with one of our quarterbacks. Keaton Mitchell goes 206. Jatavion Sanders off the board. So we will take Terrence Ferguson here. Overall, I honestly think it's a very, very good draft. Like, I'm happy with this. If this was how every single one of our drafts looked, I would be perfectly fine. We're here at pick 9. And let's go ahead and let's get in a new draft. This one is going to be BBM. Now, just in case you're new here, I'm sure 99% of you already know this. But Best Ball Mania, this is the largest fantasy football tournament on the planet. This $25 buy-in, $15 million prize pool, and $2 million for first, $1 million for second. All the way down the line, the highest I've ever finished in Best Ball Mania is 16th place. I've had 2 teams get to the finals. I had a team that got 16th place a couple years back, and then I had a team that got to the finals last year that crapped the bed. But if you want to have a shot to go $25 into $2 million, into $1 million, into $500K, whatever it may be, here's what you're going to need to do. We're going to draft against 11 other people. In weeks 1 through 14, you have to outscore 10 of them. You have to be a top 2 scoring team in your 12-team league. If so, you'll advance to the fantasy football playoff tournament, where this is where things get very, very, very difficult. And in week 15, you're going to go up against 12 other people. You have to be the highest scoring team. Now, if you are, you advance to week 16, where you go up against 15 other people, where you have to be the highest scoring team. Now, if you are, you advance to week 17, where you go up against 538 other people. And if you're the highest scoring team there, you win $2 million. If you're the second highest scoring team, you win $1 million. Third highest scoring team, you win $500K. Fourth highest scoring team, you win $400K. All the way down the line, there are $15 million in prizes. So a big, big emphasis for this is how do you get the most upside that you could possibly manage in weeks 15, 16, 17. Sadly, we did not win any tournaments last year. Like I said, we did get a Best Ball Mania team to the finals. That team had Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely, Nico Collins, all in that Houston Texans, Baltimore Ravens game. And CJ Stroud completely fumbled the bag for us, and we did not win $2 million. But let's see. Malik Neighbors off the board at 10. This is going to be super exciting and super easy. We'll take Amon-Ra St. Brown and Brian Thomas. We do not need to think about this for a single second. Like, it is interesting to see Nico Collins kind of flip Amon-Ra St. Brown and Nico Collins to all of a sudden be a pretty big riser. Okay. Let's see. Drake London goes off at 14. Okay, let's see. Henry says Barkley went at pick 5 in his draft. Here we get Bijan at 5, Barkley at 1. I'm not going to fault anybody for going Barkley at 1. Like, if you're going to be drafting only a couple underdog teams this year, and you wanted to say, like, if you were only going to draft like 5 teams this year, and you love Saquon Barkley, go get Barkley. Now, I personally am not going to be taking Barkley at 1 because I'm going to be drafting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of teams. So I want to have exposure to Chase, Barkley, Jefferson, Lamb, Bijan, Gibbs at kind of equal weights. I don't have a super strong take one guy versus the other. So I'm just going to kind of take them in line with ADP, specifically the early round guys. And then in my middle and later rounds where I'm going to call my shots. Okay, GDH says Team 9 is the best. Team 9 goes Nico Achan out the gate. If Nico starts going before Neighbors and Amon-Ra St. Brown, to be honest with you, I'm probably not going to take a lot of Nico. Like, Nico's obviously been a crusher over the past 2 years. One thing that we can do is let's compare these wide receivers that are kind of next to each other at the very end of drafts here. Nico, Brian Thomas, and who else do we want to look at? Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? These are the guys that go at the end. I guess we can say Puka Nacua as well. Let's move this over. And what we can do here is, if we're looking at 2024 production, like St. Brown better than this is full PPR, however. So St. Brown very close to Nico. St. Brown plays through absolutely everything. Puka Nacua was the best wide receiver here from a points per game perspective. We can go through and average this out to the past 2 seasons. Keep in mind, Brian Thomas had these numbers with an injured Trevor Lawrence and it being his rookie season as well. If we average out over the past 2 seasons, you'll see that St. Brown does stand ahead of the rest of these players. Puka Nacua looks great as well. Puka Nacua over the past 2 years has averaged 3.07 yards per route run, which is crazy, but not as crazy as Nico Collins at 3.93. I think Nico's an elite talent. I mean, you can call your shot on really any of these guys, though. Moon says, those are PPR rankings. However, I wonder how it looks like in a half PPR. All you got to do is go and look at the receptions. The difference between, say, Nico Collins receptions versus Amon-Ra St. Brown receptions over the past 2 years has been 1.5 per game. So the difference in 0.75 fantasy points. So you had, subtract 0.75 fantasy points from Amon-Ra St. Brown here. He still is ahead of Nico Collins by about half a point per game. I was going to take the elite quarterback if one made it to us, but instead we'll have a kind of easy turn. We will take Brees and Evans. I was hoping that we were going to get one of Lamar or Allen. However, we do get boxed out there, but I'm completely fine with the start of St. Brown, Brian Thomas, Mike Evans, and Brees Hall. Sir Alexander says, I guess I'm shooting for an expected return on investment with a small number of entries. I can't spend loads of money entering 100 drafts in the same tournament. So most people that draft on Underdog do not draft hundreds of teams. I would imagine the most common person is somebody who logs on, drafts 5 teams to prep for their main redraft league and have some fun. And yeah, again, like if you're only going to draft 5 teams, I would just say, go get your guy, right? I'm very different with how I draft these teams than like the average person on Underdog, where I'm drafting hundreds of teams. So I can go like, oh, me quote unquote getting my guy is I'll have Quentin Johnston in 20% of drafts and I'll have Trey Harris in 2%. And that's how I'll show my exposure. So if I draft 500 teams and I have Quentin Johnston in 20% of them, that means I have 100 teams with Quentin Johnston on it. Right. So it just looks very different if you draft 5 teams instead. If you draft 5 teams instead, there's no reason for you to go like, hey, I'm going to limit my exposure to 20% on one individual player. So that means like what? You're drafting him in one draft? It's like, no, if you like him, go get him in every single one. Okay. Big CEO says, Mason, how come you never take Daniels? I just think that I would rather have Jalen Hurts in round 5 where I can. Like I have Jaden Daniels ranked QB4. So I'm underweight Daniels. I think Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are in a different tier. Rome Odunze goes pick 49, which is interesting because if you're looking at where Rome historically goes in these tournaments, Rome really only goes the 5-6 turn. So there shouldn't be a lot of teams that have that combination of players there. So Alexander says, Mason, since you chimed in, do you think running back handcuffs are worth drafting to pair with studs? So are you talking about a regular redraft league or are you talking about an Underdog tournament? Because in an Underdog tournament, there are a couple different arguments you can make. You can say, oh, okay, there's no reason to handcuff your players because you're drafting for the highest ceiling possible. And why am I going to draft Tyler Algier when I have Bijan Robinson? Because if Bijan Robinson gets injured, then I probably am not going to be able to win $2 million. Right? If my round 1 player gets injured, there's probably no chance I win $2 million. But also, there's a world in which, say, you draft Tyler Algier with Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson has a high ankle sprain in week 2, and then he misses 6 weeks of the season. However, since you had Tyler Algier, you were actually still able to advance a Bijan Robinson team to the fantasy football playoff tournament, where most Bijan Robinson teams got bounced in the regular season. And in that instance, you could actually get leverage over the rest of the field in an interesting way and have a lower owned player in the fantasy football playoff tournament. So when it comes to handcuffing players, I think you can do it. Do I think you have to do it? No. And we are just going to keep it stupid simple here. We're going to take Chuba Hubbard and Joe Mixon. If you look at the way the ADP lines up, I do not expect many people at all to be able to get Hubbard and Mixon at the 5-6 turn together. Especially knowing that Joe Mixon went very often at the 4-5 turn. Before the Chubb signing. Dan says Vinny just killed his first 5 picks. Yeah. Vinny has the best team in this draft by far. Vinny is McCaffrey, AJ Brown, which I'll always remind you. That's a pairing that won me $100K back in the day. Trey McBride, Xavier Worthy, and Jalen Hurts. So he has the Jalen Hurts pick 55 stack up with AJ Brown in my opinion, crazy that the team at 4 that took Devonta Smith at 45 didn't just take Jalen Hurts at 52. But one team's fumble is another team's treasure. Vinny picks 7, looking great. Will need to play catch up a wide receiver for sure. That's going to be his biggest need. He has AJ Brown and Xavier Worthy. And that's it at wide receiver. Blego says, are you not at a disadvantage drafting a Best Ball Mania tournament early? Less information on players and such. Yes, but at the same time, you're able to go ahead and get massive values, right? So hypothetically, if Bijan Robinson were to get injured, say hypothetically, Bijan Robinson in training camp tears an ACL, right? Where we have seen over the past 5 years, a lot of these round 1, round 2 players get injured during training camp. Let's go hypothetically, Bijan tears an ACL. All of a sudden, Tyler Algier goes from being a very late pick to a running back that's probably going in round 5. Where if you drafted early and you got a Tyler Algier pick in round 14, that gives you the upside to turn $25 into $2 million. The team that won Best Ball Mania last year, I think, was drafted in June, unless I'm mistaken. Or maybe that was 2 years ago. So, you definitely get a lot more information if you wait to the start of the year, but because you get a lot more information, it may be tougher to hit on one of those players before they have a massive change in direction one way or another in their ADP. The What says last year's BBM winner drafted their team on June 20th. Good to know. We're going to take Josh Downs for sure. Between Pollard and Aaron Jones, is there anything that we can really discuss or anything that we can really look at? We can go like Buka if we wanted. Running back, we're kind of fine. I don't want to go quarterback or tight end here. We're going to go Aaron Jones. Okay, so now wide receiver, we have St. Brown, Brian Thomas, Mike Evans, Josh Downs. Running back, we have Brees, Chuba Hubbard, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones. So probably going to be a team where we only draft 5 running backs. Let me actually double check this to make sure. Yeah, I think we should only take 5. Even if we waited to take our 5th for a while. And then we have Tony Pollard, Brian Robinson immediately off after. Michael Pittman Jr. goes at 86, which is interesting. One point, Pittman was my most drafted wide receiver when he used to go in round 9. Since he's moved up a bit, it's been harder to draft him. And obviously, I'm still overweight because we took him so much early on. Okay. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a 5 RB build. Henry says, Desire Best is a jerk. Needs to stay in your drafts out of mine. Read my Chase Higgins stack with this unstacked Burrow. I think Desire Best took a Burrow stack from me yesterday. I think he had Chase Brown, though, when he took it from me. Squinty Rice is someone with an ideal ADP draft from when Best Ball Mania opened. Could have started with Puka, McCaffrey, Rasheed, and Devontae Adams, their first 4 picks. Which, again, is one of those advantages of drafting early. Now, like, the earlier you draft, the more likely your team is to be an absolute dumpster fire. Like, we're in rounds 16, 17, 18. You're taking players that just have no value whatsoever, that may not even play. Like, there's a world in which I'm drafting a lot of Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, and neither wide receiver signs with the team, and they're both just absolute zeros. And we know that by September. And we know, like, in September, in those final 3 rounds, you shouldn't draft them whatsoever. But again, on the flip side of that, you could also be taking a running back there, like Nick Chubb, and then all of a sudden Joe Mixon gets injured in camp and Nick Chubb jumps 8 rounds in ADP. So Baker Mayfield goes 102, which sucks. It would have been nice for us to get Baker with Evans, but that would have been a little unrealistic because we would have had to dodge the Igbuka team. We'd have had to dodge the Godwin team. And that's just not happening. And we would have had to dodge somebody just taking him unstacked, of course. Kale goes with an unstacked Kyler. I would have done the same. Do not fault him at all for that. Let's see what happens. If we go with the running back here, it will be our last running back that we draft. Trey Harris off at 105. I have a plan A. I have a plan B. Plan C I'm working on in my head at the moment. Let's see what Homer does. Justin Fields goes 106. God dang it. Plan B and plan A out the window. Reach on Goff to pair with St. Brown and maybe maybe just take Bo Nix unstacked. I wanted Bo Nix to pair with Evan Ingram. I wanted Ingram on the way back. We're just going to do this. We'll take Pat Bryant late. We'll go Goff, Bo Nix, rounds 9 and 10. Not the most fun. I forgot to change the dollar buy-in. Let people know this is BBM. I was hoping we were going to get Fields falling unstacked. Would have been a lot better than like an unstacked Bo Nix given the rushing. Or I was hoping we were going to get Evan Ingram and then we could have just gone Bo Nix, Evan Ingram here on the turn. Which I'm sure that team right before us was planning on going Evan Ingram and then Bo Nix on the way back. So it's tough. Bitcoin BTC bus is coming to the big dog. Have waited from 5 p.m. EST to 9 p.m. back-to-back days without filling. Come on. How about this, my friend? I will make a deal with you. If you send me 1 Bitcoin, I will hop in the big dog draft. All I ask for is 1. And I'll give you a 2-for-1 deal at that. You send me 1 Bitcoin, and I will hop in 2 big dog drafts, and we'll do them on the live stream right now. And I'd be happy to do it, my friend. Anything for you. Okay. Mass Collector says Goff and Bo Nix unstacked is still solid. Yeah, I mean, I think it's maybe the best of the options that we had, but I don't know if it's super exciting. Frank says, I'll give you 1 Dogecoin. Take it or leave it. I'll have to talk to my account about that. I'll have to run that one through the books. Let's move this over. Kirk, Luther Burden. And obviously Lawrence is usually in play whenever you have Brian Thomas, but Lawrence went well ahead ADP here. I don't want to say much until we're on the clock. Kale takes May. Did Kale have Diggs? No, Kale running with 2 unstacked quarterbacks now. She gets the falling value with both. Let's see what Homer does. He goes Herbert. We're going to take Mims to pair up with Bo Nix, and I think we take McCarthy to pair up with Jones. And I'll check the historical math because I know we're probably going to have people mad at us for taking 3 quarterbacks this early, which it may be bad. Let me see. QB1 we took in round 9. QB3 we took in round 12. What's it looking like for 3 QB builds? 17.6% playoff rate, 1.97 semifinals rate, and 0.07 finals rate. So average finals rate, well above average semifinals rate, and slightly above average playoff rates. Whereas the alternative, if we would have just gone QB in round 9 and QB in round 10, yeah, we would have been at a lower playoff rate, a lower semifinals rate. So, yes, I'm not excited to take Mims. But we did it to ourselves. We took Bo Nix. Let me see. How many drafts have I taken Mims in at this point? Mims. I'm at 5.5% Mims, ladies and gentlemen. It's slowly but surely rising. It's rising. It used to be a lot lower. But I like our quarterback room. Tight end is going to be another one of these teams where we just take 3 tight ends at the very end of the draft. Maybe we actually get to mix in Darren Waller. We'll see. Johnny Smith goes 139 in this draft. So much earlier cost on Jonnu in this one in comparison to the last one. Bryce Young, Stafford, both off. Great for us to see as many quarterbacks go as possible now, right? We are just going to be one more running back. And then a couple of receivers and tight ends. Leggett goes 150. Sorry, not Leggett. Eckler. Leggett has an ADP of 150. The big Q goes 151. Disappointing for us, but it is what it is. What can I do? Kale has an unstacked Kyler and an unstacked May, so it will be interesting to see how he navigates this through the rest of the draft. I wonder if he ends up going with like targeting Michael Wilson, targeting Kyle Williams, et cetera, et cetera. Draco gets the massive Kincaid value with Josh Allen. I don't want to say much, so we're on the clock. Jack Besh goes. We're going to take Leggett here for sure. We probably just go Tillman. That'll be our 7th receiver. We'll call it a day after Tillman. So here's the squad. Wide receiver, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brian Thomas, Mike Evans, Josh Downs, Marvin Mims, Xavier Leggett, Cedric Tillman. Running back, we have Brees, Chuba Hubbard, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones. Quarterback, we have Goff stacked with St. Brown. We have Bo Nix stacked with Marvin Mims. We have McCarthy stacked with Aaron Jones. And we need to take one more running back, and we need to take one more running back and 3 tight ends. But overall, I like the squad. I like it. It would have been a lot better if instead of taking Goff at like 108, we got Evan Ingram there. And then instead of taking Marvin Mims at 132, we had like Trevor Lawrence make it back to us. There, I think that would have been a much more exciting team. But we didn't really get the benefit of having big-time falls, which is kind of what you need here when you're picking on the turn. And when you're picking on the turn, you're a lot more likely to just reach ahead of ADP and go get your guy, right? Because a lot of times if I'm at pick 6, if I'm at pick 7, even if I like a guy, if he's like 10 slots back in ADP in comparison to where I'm at on the clock at that point, 90% of the time we'll go, I'm not going to reach 10 to 12 picks on ADP when I can get him in the next round. However, when we're sitting here on the turn and we're looking at like Jared Goff 108, ADP of like 118, whatever it was, it's like, okay, if we don't take Goff here, we're just simply not getting him. He'd have to get past the Jameson team twice. He'd have to get past the St. Brown team twice. He'd have to get past the Jahmyr Gibbs team twice. He'd have to get past the Sam Laporta team twice. And that's just not happening. Okay, let's move this over. And again, like I said, we're going to take one running back, and then we are going to take 3 tight ends. Braylon Allen goes 177. Dowdle 178. Chig goes. We're going to take Kate Otten for sure. And then I think we can maybe look at Miles Sanders. Chubb's been slipping. Running backs are a couple different guys who get on the way back around. I'll take Sanders. That was a close call, but yeah, that was a little scary. Daily Dynasty Show. Happy talking with y'all. I went on Daily Dynasty Show's podcast yesterday, I want to say. Yesterday or the day before. One of those days. And hopefully video drops soon so y'all can check it. But thank you for stopping by, my friend. And CPW7, welcome to being a mother flocker. Happy to have you. And looks like you've maybe been a mother flocker for quite some time. Maybe you got canceled whenever we deleted the previous tier to lower the price. Okay. Alex says, hey, could you let me know how I'm doing at pick 5? Tough to pass on McBride after drafting Bowers in round 2. Yes, sir. I'll be happy to check that out. Drew says, I thought super chats were off. Yeah, super chats are off. Like, you can't do that, but you can send in like a little super chat sticker. I turned off the messages just to make sure people knew, like, hey, I'm like not answering fantasy football questions right now. If you want to send a little $5 sticker, you can. But Team 5, yeah, had to pass on McBride here at 29 because they went Bowers at 20. Bijan Bowers seems like a great start. A JSN 29, Metcalf, Waddle. I love your start through the first 5. Quinshawn at 86. Pearsall, Jaden. I love your team. Yeah. Quarterbacks only Purdy and Darnold. If you can, I'd probably grab a third. But Rodgers already gone, so maybe that's not possible. But you go Anthony Richardson. A Jeep guy. Been a long time, member. You know I appreciate you, my friend. But let's see. Anthony Richardson goes 197. And we are just tied in from this point on. We are only taking 2 tight ends and around 17 and 18. Our current tight end at the moment is Cade Otton. Overall, I like the team. Dan says, New York has Underdog, finally. Underdog's been in New York for a little bit of time now, my friend. I think it was only not in New York for like 2 months when they had to reapply for a fantasy license. Okay, Calvin Austin goes. Tyler Conklin goes. We'll definitely take Dalton Schultz and then Terrence Ferguson. I like me some Terrence Ferguson. Good quarterback, good prospect profile. Doesn't get drafted in every single one of these. So here's a squad. I really like it. We're at Team 12. I feel like if there is going to be an issue with this team, it's one of our tight ends not hitting right. Like we need Cade Otton or Dalton Schultz for whatever reason. Their teams to decide to throw them out for one more year. Or we need Terrence Ferguson to have a big time breakout for us. But I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Of course, I will probably end this here, eat some dinner, make a couple podcasts for people on the site. Maybe get a little bit of clash in for the clan. But thank you. Shout out Darren Waller. I guess actually I could have taken Darren Waller in the last round. That's disappointing. I completely forgot about that. Does Darren Waller go in this draft? Yeah, maybe ends up getting undrafted. I probably should have taken Darren Waller over Dalton Schultz, but it is what it is. I'm allowed to be stupid. And Jeep Guy, surprised Waller doesn't go in the top 12 picks. Pretty funny, my friend. But appreciate y'all. Really hope that I get to see y'all with the live stream tomorrow night. And really hope I get a draft with y'all then.